Hey guys, you're watching Daniel and Gian Talk, and today we're going to be doing a full review of the 2004 feature film Lakshya, starring Hrithik Roshan. I want to address the elephant in the room.
Let's start with the music video.
Okay.
And I'd actually like to start first, if you don't mind, because I'm the one who got the most shit for it.
Okay.
Despite the fact that we were both on the same page.
Well,
I know, and I understand why I got it.
I wasn't talking about sucking dicks right off.
But let's address that.
Right.
The one thing I got from now watching the whole movie was the straitjacket part. Okay, but my issue with that is now, and if I were to re-react to that music video, what I would point out is, up until that point, there is no fucking thing that happens that shows his life is restricted, that he feels confined. All of those things that show that happen after that music video. So in my opinion, the placement of that video was wrong. We'll get more into that in a second, but I just wanted to address that first. And then, like, everything else, like when he's being looked at by like the families, like in the very beginning, I'm assuming you don't even know who they are, but I'm assuming they're like his families, because
Right.
you know, and he's in that straitjacket or whatever, and he's being looked at upon, and he's being judged. Like that's what I interpreted. And then at the end of the video, you see people, the background dancers are wearing their suits backwards. So I'm just assuming that means like their lives are backwards, like
Lives are turned around.
that's the only thing that, like, all of the dancing moves and the zoom ins, like those are all like I didn't get anything else.
No.
I just wanted to address that. Yes, there was some symbolism there, and yes, context matter. But
I mean, even that use of symbolism doesn't really make sense, because at least in Western eyes, a straitjacket isn't that it means he's crazy. That's the way I look at it. When I see
he's
someone
going crazy, he's trapped.
Yeah,
it's a way to say he's trapped.
I mean, they could have put handcuffs on him. They could have done something.
Well, they could have put him in a box, a room where he had nowhere to go.
Right, which also would have been another form of insanity. But I don't know. It wasn't the best symbolism, and not to mention.
Well, this is going to be a super negative thing.
No, I just want to talk.
People to
we
turn
got
off the video already.
Fair enough, but. Not only the placement of the video, but the video itself was inconsistent with the rest of the film as a whole. Like, even the other songs.
Well, it was his dream. Oh, I'm just saying, it was his
dream.
Fair enough. His dream.
Fair enough.
But arguably,
I'm just saying, stylistically and everything, it didn't
absolutely
fit with anything else that was in the movie. But
let's just get into that placement, because his dad telling him, like, I don't want you to do X, Y, or Z. I'm the man of the house, basically, is what he was saying.
Right.
That all happened after that. You know, him seeing what other people were like, that all happened after. You never see him before that music video. And I implore you guys who haven't seen this movie since it came out to, like, rewatch it, because I know, like, I'm guilty of this. We're all watching a movie as a kid or when I was younger, and, like, I loved it, and then you rewatch it and you're like, oh, it doesn't really hold up, or it's not like I remembered it. So, like, for those of you out there who are listening to us and are like, fuck you guys, you know what you're talking about, rewatch the movie, and maybe we have some credibility here. Maybe we don't, but, you know, I'm just saying, the movie's old, so maybe you guys haven't seen it in a while. But if that music video would have been placed after all that, it would have been way more impactful, because then he was actually going through, like,
right,
I want to do this, I want to go to the army.
It would have paid off.
Yes.
It didn't really pay off where it was at.
They gave the payoff before everything else was set up, because
Right.
it was there, it just was after. But what did you think of it overall? Like, what did you think of?
I feel like they were trying to cram too many different elements into one film.
I agree.
And it just felt like two different films all together into one.
I agree.
And it didn't transition like that well either. It's like the second part of the film didn't really have anything to do with the first part of the film. You know, like
they just kept interstitching.
Yeah, like the second half of the film was about, and it felt about patriotism. It was the nationalistic part of this whole thing of joining the military and, like, doing, you know, trying to fight for your country. You know, all of his comrades dying in battle and stuff, and none of that was really set up at the beginning of the film. So it's like, you know, it was just, that's what bothered me more than anything.
He didn't even seem like a guy who cared about his country at all.
Right.
Not in a sense of like fuck India,
okay.
But in a sense of like that's not even on his radar at all.
And that's okay
because he earned it.
But it would have been okay if somebody challenged him on that aspect at some point in the film.
Why don't you care about your country?
And they didn't. It was never a subject matter. It was just like, oh, my buddy's joining this cadet academy.
So I'm gonna do it too.
I'm gonna do it too because everyone tells me I got nothing going on in my life. I'm gonna finally make a decision for myself. You know.
And you're also forgetting a key factor as to one of the reasons why he joined, because he watched Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Like, that's what was like, I want to be Arnold. I don't know.
I'm going to fight for the government by watching a movie about mercenaries.
I feel like there was definitely too many stories going on. On one hand, they kind of had to check boxes off, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I genuinely feel like we have a war story. We got to have the love story, though, because it's an Indian film.
Definitely.
And I know people are going to shit on me because that's what I don't care. But it felt like a box that needed to be checked.
It was formulaic at certain points for sure.
And because it just didn't make a lot of sense. Like it's kind of like how in the American film Wrong Day Basante, where they happen to the white girl in the movie, her whole purpose is just for the journal.
Right.
We kept harping on that part about how they could have not had any white people in it. They could have discovered this damn journal and experienced this journey on their own and made it a pure Indian film. The journalist was like the same thing. Like, they made her a journalist just so she can be with him on the battlefield.
Right.
There was no other purpose because she wasn't.
Just so they could reconnect.
Yeah, that's it. That's literally the only reason.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with women journalists. I'm not complaining about that, but you can totally tell that was the reason why she was doing that. I personally feel like.
And the way they kept her around too, like he graduates and then he calls her just to be petty and then immediately regrets it. You could see in his face that he regretted, like,
he had so many distractions. I'm surprised he didn't die.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm not even talking shit.
Yeah.
I mean, like, because unfortunately, that's what they try to get out of you during basic training, or fortunately, whatever. They want to get that out of you.
You're basically getting brainwashed so that your focus is completely on the mission.
100%. And because those distractions can get you killed. Once he got in the academy, I'm like, okay, cool. Now this is where we're going to see him become a man, basically.
Right.
'Cause that's the story. Like, we already knew that from the beginning. He's a nerd. I mean, he's not even really a nerd. He's just kind of in this nothing land, like nowhere land, where he's just kind of meandering around. And once he goes to military school, know shit's going to change for him.
It was a guy from a well-off family, like, with no purpose or ambition in his life. Just kind of wasting his time at school, waking up late, doing whatever.
Waking up late at the drills, which these little moments, I'm like, all right, yes, I was excited because, like, I just kept saying, please just stay on the battlefield. Like, let's just stay in this world. Let's build your character, because I don't care about the woman. I'm going to be honest.
Right.
I don't care. At no point did I give a shit about anything. It reminded me of, American Film Alert, it reminded me of Hacksaw Ridge. I don't know if you saw that movie.
I never saw
Mel
that,
Gibson movie about World War II. It's a phenomenal film. I love it. But I even love it despite all of it, because, like, the beginning is, like, hokey as shit. There's, like, a little love story set up in the beginning, and, like I said, it's just over the top. But the reason why it was put in there was to contrast the fucking the Battle of Hacksaw Ridge, which is extremely violent. But once he goes into combat, they never go back.
Well, what's the main point of that film was that the dude's a conscientious objector.
Yeah, he didn't have a weapon, and he saved all of these lives.
Right.
That was. But I'm just saying, though, it was to show the brutality of war.
Right.
And I'm not saying I wanted to see people die in this movie, but I wanted to see him go through those trials and tribulations without having to be bogged down by a love story. People compared this movie in the comments to, like, Saving Private Ryan. Some people said the action was better than Saving Private Ryan. But in Saving Private Ryan, they don't go back home. You know what I mean? They don't show their home lives. It's a war movie. It's on the battlefield. I mean, even in The Thin Red Line, which is a Terrence Malick film, which is an artsy-fartsy movie, they go back to, they'll show the characters daydreaming. They're dreaming of their wives at home, but they don't go back and develop a full-on love story, because it's about them there. You know what I mean?
It kind of feels like you're saying they were bound by the mainstream film restrictions.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And they had to stick to it instead of taking the
chance of just showing, let's go to war.
Right.
Let's show the reality. Let's show, like, what it's all about.
There were some weird decisions as well, like the whole, like, stretching out the issues he had with his father until the very end. You would think, like, him graduating from the academy would have been enough.
Exactly.
Yeah, but there was still, like, he was harboring onto this resentment,
It was weird, because the son, Hrithik, was like, oh, I did everything wrong, I didn't please you.
Right.
As opposed to the father having a realization, like, I'm proud of you, son. Like, don't say that. I'm the one who might have been too hard on you. Like, he was just like, it kind of just
And then using the non-existent brother as a vehicle as well. Like we never see him, but they just keep on making comparisons and using him as this is a part of the reason why I'm so screwed. Well, I'm just not a fan of you referencing someone
People
off
that you
screen.
never see.
You never see, and that's a part of the. It's an integral part
agree.
of the guy's character.
I agree.
That's the issue. There was some stuff though. There was one section I really liked actually that paid off, which I was surprised. The rock climbing stuff.
I was gonna say
the rock climbing training section. I was watching that.
Why the hell is he rock climbing?
Exactly. It was like that's not a military training thing, but it paid off later on in the movie. Like, oh, all right.
He has to scale this fucking 1,000-foot cliff.
Yeah, cool. That was cool. I mean, it kind of messed up the flow of where we're going in the review, but
no.
It's just something that popped in my head.
It's because there's positives about it. I enjoyed the military aspect of the movie. This is one of the first films where I genuinely just did not enjoy the music. And the reason why I didn't enjoy the music was because of the creative choice to have the soldiers sing and like, it just felt...
See, that song kind of reminded me of Lagan, so I didn't hate it as much.
I didn't hate it. It took me out. That was the problem. I didn't hate it. It just took me out. Because like every time like things were getting serious, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh man. Like it was one of those movies where I just didn't want any music. I wanted it to focus on the story that it was telling.
I get you. See, for me, watching that music video before watching, I completely expected all kinds of numbers like that.
And maybe it's because I've been watching Indian war films lately, and they don't have that shit.
Right.
And maybe that's the evolution. Is in 2004 when this came out, it was in there, and now in 2018, 2019, they're willing to just say, no, we're gonna make a straight up war movie, and like. Uri fucking straight up. There's no song and dance in that movie at all. Not at all. No indication of anything.
Now let me ask you something. How did you feel about the conflict itself? Like I was a bit confused.
I didn't get it at first. Like, but I also think if you're familiar with that conflict, it kind of doesn't need to be explained.
Right.
But by the end, I was able to get it. Like they were shelling the highway, and because when they show the Pakistani, like the 2 times they show them, like they were explaining, like this is India's throat, and we're like,
yeah.
Then I'm like, oh, okay, I understand what this is.
That was an important piece of
something to hold on to.
But there was like,
but in terms of conflict, there wasn't really a true.
It was
like
in the trailer, and it's a scene where they take him up to the hill for the very first time, and he's like, I'm so proud to be an Indian or something, and I still don't make the connection of him seeing the border and the other like Pakistani armies like.
Oh, like how what led him to feel that way?
Yeah, like looking at the border, like what, you know what I mean? Like I didn't get that. Like and feel free to explain to us why, like what.
Because you're not Indian, bro.
I guess not, but like I just saw this barren like hillside.
I mean, it looked nice. Yeah, I agree. Well, let's jump into some subscriber questions. So Rickon asks, what did you guys think of the length of the movie, 3 hours? As an Indian, I've watched a lot of long movies, but it still irritates me sometimes. I almost thought they could have taken out a good chunk of the backstory of Hrithik, especially 1 or 2 of the songs, even though they were pretty catchy songs.
All right, Rickon, well, I'm going to answer the first part of your question.
Oh, P.S. What did you think of our Army men's basketball skills? Worse than Daniel's? ? Okay,
I'm going to answer both of those. First part, Rickon, you've been in the States too long because you're starting to be desensitized to length. You're not going to find, there's yet to be a movie where I couldn't have cut out, if I was a director, that I couldn't have cut out at least 20 to 30 minutes out of it. And this is the same thing. You could have cut the whole college life thing in half and it would have been fine, because it was just, I think most of it was focusing on the romance part more than anything else, when really this story is about this guy and
finding himself.
That the romance wasn't like,
it was a B story,
yeah, exactly,
treated like an A story.
Right,
it was
exactly.
at the same level of the other story.
It wasn't at the heart of the story or his character.
And so for us as Westerners, it's not hard to juggle, but it leaves bad taste in our mouths,
right,
because we know that usually, not always, usually a stronger focused narrative creates a stronger film overall.
Right.
Usually it's not always the case, because sometimes you can have both. You can have your pie and your cake, and you can eat it both. You can have them both at the same time.
And then as for Daniel's basketball skills, those guys are still way better than Daniel. Daniel is an embarrassment on the basketball court.
False.
And we're going to show you guys one of these days on video.
Lakers have already called me up a few times, but I told them no, because I have to do this YouTube channel. So
it's exactly what happened.
So we got a question. Another question. Sanjoy Mukherjee asks, did you recognize Amrish Puri, the most senior officer, who was the villain in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, i.e., the worst movie depicting Indians? He actually has a real question, but that was his first one. I didn't notice it until you brought it up.
I didn't.
But now that I looked it up,
Wait, so that's the guy that takes people's heart. That like.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks way different with the shaved head and like red paint on his head, and screaming Kalima.
Yeah, there he is.
Kalima Shakti De. Yeah, that's him. No, I had no idea.
No idea. That movie scared me as a kid.
I love that film. I grew up with it. I mean, I haven't watched it in a while, but sorry that it doesn't depict Indians.
I want to rewatch it now because I didn't even know they were Indian.
Really?
Dude, I've only seen the movie. Like, it scared me as a kid. It was one of the Indiana Jones.
I watched that when I was like 4 or 3, and I loved it.
Well, I knew they had, like, there's elephants in there, so I associated with that part of the world.
The Shankara stones.
But I didn't know that.
You're supposed to go to Calcutta. And
that movie genuinely fucking scared me.
Fair enough.
Like, didn't like watching it, so I don't really remember it.
So do you guys hate it because you just don't like the way the Indians are portrayed in it 40 years ago? Or is it you just don't like the film?
Let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
His real question is, though, did you think this movie Did you think this movie is targeted towards urban people, persons living in their own happy bubbles? That's what he described it as.
I'm going to say yes, because it's a mainstream film. It's obviously a mainstream film. This is for, this is supposed to be to make a lot of money. It's a commercial date film. You go on Friday,
And there's also a lot of, like, I felt like this movie was very pro-military, very pro-India.
Yes.
Very, like, as opposed to Razi, we were talking about last week.
Right.
Where it really wasn't about that. It really wasn't about, like...
Well, you got the Sikh guy, like, like pulling a grenade out and, like, yelling out Jai Hind, to kill himself with the other 2 guys, like...
And we're not, like, devaluing that or saying that doesn't happen.
But it's definitely, like...
You can tell that it was written
there. All these guys were ready and willing to sacrifice themselves, no questions.
Correct. And that leaves impacts on people. So that's it for the questions. Thanks for submitting those, by the way. If you want to submit more questions to all of our reviews, any reviews we do, we're going to continuously post the reviews that we're going to do in advance, so you're always going to know what we're going to review, and you can always submit questions that we'll answer to the email on the screen. But yeah, so let's go into the ratings. What do you think? What did you rate this movie?
I didn't hate watching the film.
Me either.
I got through it. It wasn't at no point.
Performances were all fine.
Yeah, the performances were fine. Yeah,
I thought Hrithik was really going to be over the top.
Actually, I think Big B's performance is probably like the weakest one I've seen him in so far.
I would 100%.
Yeah, I was like not. I was a little.
But I don't know if I blame.
I was disappointed in his hairpiece and his acting in this.
I don't know if I blame that on him or the character he was written. You know what I mean? Like, it could just be what the material he was given.
Could be, or he also could have mailed it in.
He could have just mailed it in too.
Yeah.
I don't know, but overall, like, the acting was fine. I didn't really get. I mean, even the girlfriend character, like, it didn't really bother me.
Right. I mean, the cinematography was nice.
The battles were a little hard to follow, though. I'm not gonna lie. Because I didn't...
They were a little dark.
Yeah.
Because they took place at night, but, like, the lighting...
They chose to, like, truly shoot at night.
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to, like, still lighting and being able to see things, which is fine. That's a creative choice. But when I say hard to follow, I mean, there were certain moments where, like, the first battle was, like, straight up Star Wars status, where, like...
Stormtroopers.
The Pakistanis were shooting at the Indians and the bullets were just missing them. And then the second battle, they became like fucking sharpshooters and everyone was dying.
Right.
And I get why, story-wise, I get it. Because you want to have this victory at the beginning. You think it's going to be great. And then all of a sudden the second one's like, we're going to win again. And then people just start dying. Like, I get it. But it was just a little weird. Like, there was literally a shot where like some guy was point blank with the AK and missed. There was moments like that where I'm like... straight up Stormtrooper Star Wars stuff.
The first battle was too easy. The second battle was way too hard.
Yeah. And then, like I said, just the terrain was different because it's just different. There's no like cover. There's no grass or whatever. Cause there's a similar scene and I've mentioned this movie already, The Thin Red Line, where they have to take a hill, but it's in Japan.
Right.
And I think it's in Japan, and they're in like tall brush. It's one of the best fucking battle scenes, in my opinion, period.
Right.
And it's a Terrence Malick movie who's super artsy-fartsy. But that was the one time where he stuck with the characters and showed the full fleshed out scene. And, you know, I don't know, it's different. But overall, I enjoyed it.
The other parts with the battles as well, I don't know if you felt this, but we didn't see the Pakistani soldiers until like the very end of the film.
The very end.
So it was just like they were just shooting at a hill, and then people were shooting back, but we had no idea who was shooting back. And that was a bit disconcerting at times as well. Like it didn't, when you don't know who your enemy is in the film, it's kind of hard to kind of.
Well, okay, so two things. One, this movie clearly took inspiration from Saving Private Ryan, big time. Like I almost feel like some of the shots were choreographed, almost like shot for shot from like when they were like there's a shot when the Pakistanis there have their machine guns and they're shooting it. It's literally like that opening shot when the Germans are there and they're gunning down the people in the D-Day opening scene. Like, and just the cinematography and everything. Obviously, it's at nighttime, this movie. But
right, but that battle was way more like brutal.
Oh, absolutely. No,
Yeah.
I'm bringing the reason why I bring Saving Private Ryan up is
And it
not
happened
to,
at the beginning too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not doing this to compare the movies. The reason why I'm bringing that movie up is you don't get any establishment for the Germans either.
Right.
You don't see them either. So I don't really fault them. But I will say, when you do see them on screen, they are presented as like villainous types 100%.
Right.
Which, that's not me taking a side on the thing. I'm just saying, for a movie that's pro-India, pro-militarism, and then the only time you show them, the Pakistanis, they're like just the devil basically, kind of like, it does what you're saying, where it just strips everything out of them, almost to the point where it's like, why did you even bother to show them when you did to begin with?
Right.
Just have them be that faceless enemy that you already know, is ruthless, or whatever words you want to attribute to it. Why even bother to villainize them even further if you didn't show them at all?
I honestly, I didn't think they did that great a job of villainizing them either.
Well, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
though.
no, I get you.
Talking,
I get you. But
they were having speeches.
Right.
No,
absolutely, yeah.
And I almost feel like the only reason why they did that was so the guy can have that thought, like he can think out loud, which I always hate when that happens. They're not attacking from here. If they're shelling, that means they're coming, or whatever.
Right.
He's like talking to himself. They're not, and then all of a sudden they come out, like they ambush him right there. Like I feel like that's why it was like they put it in there, so this guy could say this, and then they could be surprised. I don't know.
The guy's like, I'm not gonna play a Pakistani unless
I have this speech for my reel.
I need more than 3 lines. No, I'd probably give it. It's tough because of what I gave Arjun already.
To me, this is a 6 all the way through.
I'm probably gonna go 5.5.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't. Was it the worst movie I've ever seen?
And the 6 is really coming from the war stuff.
Right.
Hrithik like by himself. Basically, that's where the 6 is coming from. If you want to know where that 4 went, it's like the love story. Because I just don't care, man. For a movie like, I like my war movies
to be about war.
Gotcha. And I know not everyone's about that life, and I get it, But for me, I want to experience something different where it's not like the movie needs to be different, but I want to experience what my character's going through. I don't give a fuck about this girl marrying someone else, and then because he wants to control her life, like she leaves him, and then you set up this drama of like, I don't want to talk to you anymore because he doesn't know that she doesn't want to marry him anymore. And it's like, yes, it might be real. Yes, this might happen, but I don't give a fuck about that in a movie. But that's just me.
Well, it just, like I said earlier in the review, it wasn't fleshed out well enough for it to work, and that's the problem with it. I give it a 5.5 because it's like, it's not the worst movie in the world. I'm not gonna say it's god awful, but it wasn't good enough for me to want to check it out again. Anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for us. Thanks for watching. You know the drill. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Ring the bell if you are, and we will see you next time.